Oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up. Let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement.
Welcome, gentlemen and ladies, the all five of you watching, to Red Pill Rhino. I might be a little bit late in the game getting into this one, and that's okay. My YouTube channel just appeared after 12 years of being in hiatus, so forgive me on that. But today I want to talk about why the case between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is of importance to you as men and women alike. First of all, some of her behaviors that you've seen in court and some of the lies she's told in court is not an isolated incident. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that at least in this country, the United States, where I reside, where most of you probably reside, there are a lot of... There's no easy way to put this. There's a lot of false allegations that are made against men. Now, we could talk about family court, we could talk about domestic violence, all that stuff. But let's just be honest, there are a lot of false allegations made. Now, that's not to say that there aren't legitimate concerns, issues, cases that come up. Yeah, there absolutely are. And the problem is when you have a lot of false allegations, it makes it really hard to tell who's being honest and who's trying to ruin someone's life. So, we look at the case between those two, and this is a defamation case. Some of you, I think, are a little confused. You think, well, if Johnny Depp wins, then Amber's going to prison. No, absolutely not. She'll be ordered to pay restitution. I believe the amount, I'm not going to say the amount, but the amount that she is due is for the charity she was supposed to donate to from his money. And if she is found guilty on this, then she's required to give that money to charity. Because there's no indication that it has been given to that charity yet. Now, I'm not going to get into specifics on that. You guys can leave in the comments the information that you have on that, the specific numbers and all that. But here's my issue. If you're a man living in this country, you've probably been made to believe your entire life, and women, you too, you've been led to believe your entire life that men are just out there abusing everybody. What is the false statistic? False. I'm going to say that again. False. 1 in 6 women in this country have been... Gotta use different words on YouTube, especially if I start getting more views. People are going to start noticing it. I've got to come up with a different word. Let's just borrow from the red pill stuff. Let's use the word grape. 1 in 6 women are graped. Right? Grape. That's false. There's data to prove that, to back that is not the case. It is a rare statistic. But yet allegations continue to fly. Believe all women. Absolutely not. I'm not going to believe all men any more than I'm going to believe all women. Why does your sex automatically just grant you everyone believing what you have to say, regardless of your character? I'm not so sure about that. I'm not on board with that. All right, I'm rambling. Let me get to the point. In this country, the actual statistics are, and this one I will give you numbers on, 70% of unreciprocated, meaning the other party didn't do anything. 70% of domestic violence cases are initiated by women. Ladies, that means whether it's emotionally or physically, you're responsible for 70% of those. That means only 30% of the men are initiating unreciprocated domestic violence. No, that's not saying that 30% is not a big deal. I mean, any act of violence upon another human being is not justified, in my opinion. Granted, we go to wars, and that's, something we justify. I don't know if it's any more justified than what I'm talking about here, but you get my point. Violence is never a course of action to take. But to sit here and tell generation after generation of men and women that men bad, women good, believe all men are abusers or grapists or whatever, right? That's false. It's absolutely false. The data backs that up. It was a Harvard study. 70% of unreciprocated domestic violence cases in this country are initiated by women. Now, let's get to the point here on why the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing's important. You see, this is the first time in this country that the entire world, really, not just this country, but the entire world is looking at this case. And a lot of men feel like this is their opportunity to be heard through Johnny Depp. Now, I'm not saying Johnny's a perfect human being. Seems like he's struggled with some addiction problems. It seems like he's not always in the right on everything, but there's no evidence at all to suggest that he was physically violent at all. Not one trace of evidence. However, on the other end, there is plenty of evidence to suggest that Amber Heard was in fact physically abusive to Johnny. Again, this is something that men are ashamed to talk about, quite frankly. If a man is physically or emotionally abused by his significant other, the chances of him reporting that are very low. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is the fact that there's a stigma, that you're a wuss, that you need to just toughen up, get over it, move on. You're not allowed to actually, and I'm not suggesting victim mentality is a good thing, but you're not actually allowed to be a victim of anything as a man in this country. Heaven forbid you actually have your finger chopped off by some crazy broad. You don't get to be a victim, even if you're a victim. The other thing is, police even seem to not take men seriously in these cases. But here's a component that a lot of people are missing on this. When a woman goes to court, let's say she did commit an act of domestic violence, they got her dead to rights, they got her on video, whatever. The police happen to take the guy seriously that day, and she goes to court. She's going to do 1/3 of the time that the man is. We're talking about equality in this country, and women want equality. Well, it seems to me that there isn't equality. There's equity, but not equality. And what I mean by that is, women, if you want equality, that means if you abuse your partner, you should be doing the same amount of time that your partner's doing. Here's another statistic that's really messed up. Did you know in this country that if you are even charged with a crime, one, they'll stack charges on you. So let's say it was an assault and battery, right? Don't know what the penalty for that is, but let's just ballpark it. Let's say a year in prison, right? Maybe 2. We'll just say that. If a woman is convicted of the same crime a man is, the man will do the 1 or 2 years in prison. The woman will more than likely never do any time in jail. Maybe she's on a couple years probation with some community service. That's injustice in my mind. If a woman commits the same act of violence against a man, she gets probation, a slap on the wrist, and some community service, but the man goes to prison. Now, the man should go to prison. I'm not saying that he shouldn't. I'm just saying, ladies, if you want equality, your ass needs to be in prison just as long. Okay? Assault and battery. So that's a felony. I'm not sure exactly what category of felony that is, but it's up there. You've physically harmed someone. Okay? So that more than likely is a prison sentence. But here's where it gets even worse. Now, let's say it was a false allegation, which is what I kind of opened up this video with. If it's a false allegation, a woman made... Hell, I'll say it. I told you I've got a backstory of mistakes I've made. I was with a woman who slammed her own head into a wall and said, if you leave me, I'll say you did this. So I didn't leave that day, and that was a mistake. I should have. But I probably would have been charged then, right? But I wasn't. And then later on down the road, it was an awful relationship. I should have walked out that day. But here's the thing. Women will make false allegations. They know they can get away with it. And if you go to fight this in court, this is the scary statistic. This one's equal to just about everybody. The justice system just chews up people like a paper shredder. 90% of cases end in a plea deal. 90%. Now, that doesn't mean 90% of people that end up in the courtroom are guilty. What happens is they'll stack charges. And I'm going back to what I said about stacking charges. So, if you're charged with assault and battery, the DA and the prosecutor are going to get together and they're going to stack those charges. They're going to find 1 count, 2 count, 3 count, 4 count, 5 count, 6 count, whatever they can, which isn't justice either. Our justice system is broken. Instead of just being charged with what you did, then they'll find every other little thing you did along the way, every sneeze you made that you shouldn't have. And by the end of it, you're looking at a court case where the maximum penalty isn't 2 years, it's 40 years. Doesn't seem very fair, does it? I mean, you did the wrong, 2 years, that's fine. You just walk in there, you say guilty. But let's say you were falsely charged with this crime, and now you're going before a legal system that you have no idea about. Chances are, the odds in this country, if you're not among the 3%, shelling out 10 grand for an attorney is not just going to be something you can do. You could, if you have assets, and the younger generation doesn't seem to have many assets, you could put your house, your cars, things like that on the line for the attorney. But again, not a lot of people have that kind of money anymore. So chances are you're going to end up with a public defender. Or worse, you try to represent yourself, which I would never, ever recommend. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. But I would never recommend you try to defend yourself in court. Anyway, you're going to end up with a public defender, which works for the who? Public defender's office. Who do they work for? The prosecution, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to go in there with this big, scary government system with no idea what to do, and you're going to sit down and go, yeah, well, I've been accused of assault and battery today, and I didn't do it. And the public defender's going to look over at you and say, maybe you didn't, maybe you did. Here's the thing. If you plead not guilty and we go to trial on this, a lot of this is going to be hearsay. It's going to be circumstantial evidence, but it's an emotional case. And you're against a woman. And the likelihood of you going against a jury and them not seeing you as the bad guy is very low, even if we can prove you didn't do it. They'll flat out tell you this, that a lot of cases in this country are convicted just solely on circumstantial evidence. So you're sitting here and you're going, okay, well, what does that mean? Sir, it means, or ma'am, it means that if you're convicted, you will be going away for 40 years. So, there's where the shock hits you. And maybe you still want to fight it. Well, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay. So you fight, and you fight, and you fight. And this goes on for a year or two. And then eventually, you start getting these plea deals. Well, if you say this, then we'll give you that. And remember, every waking hour of your life, especially if you're being falsely accused, is worrying about that 40 years she just told you about. Or he, depending on who your public defender is, right? And you're thinking every night, maybe waking up in the middle of the night, I'm gonna go to prison for 40 years. Okay, so now you've been going through the court system. They've been chewing you up, stressing you out, offering you crap deals. Like, you'll still take this felony charge, but we'll give you an open sentence. It's up to the judge. That doesn't sound very great, does it? That means anywhere between probation and still 40 years. It's up to him or her, whoever the judge is. But you're thinking, that's one big gamble. Those don't sound too great. So you go back, you talk to your public defender again, you say, hey, look, you got to do me better than this. We have enough evidence to prove I didn't do what's been said I did. You got to be able to give me something. And they say, well, there's a good chance we can win this case. But again, circumstantial evidence. If she said, and he said, she said, and she said, and you've got a jury, and the prosecutor does good with getting them worked up emotionally, we may lose either way. So eventually, you cave. 90% of people charged with a crime in this country cave. Now, there are a lot of people out there that commit crimes. Sure, it's true. But there's a lot of people that were accused of crimes they didn't commit and now have permanent convictions. Permanent convictions. They can't overturn them. I mean, unless they appealed them, and that's, you've already done the time now. So anyway, you take this deal. You get in front of the judge, and he goes, I'm going to give you a year jail time. You screwed up, but we're just going to give you a year, right? Well, that sucks. So you do your year, you get out. You're now convicted in this country. Shall not be infringed doesn't matter to you anymore, even though it should. Shall not be infringed was pretty clear, but now you have lost that right, even though they can't take that right from you. But you lost it, so we can get into that later. But you lost that right. And again, 90% of people that show up in court take a plea deal. 90%. That's not justice. That's not weighing the scales to see if you did or you didn't. That's forcing you into a funnel that goes to a meat grinder that churns out a bunch of convictions. And you know what? It's incentivized because that prosecutor gets bonuses for every conviction they get. And there's kickbacks as well, but I'm not going to get into all that. I think you guys can understand what I'm saying. It's a screwed up system. So here's the thing. Let's say the man is a victim of domestic abuse. If he says anything, he also knows that women are capable of lying. Well, he did this, he did that. That's why I did. Which we know, again, Harvard study, is not true. Unreciprocated, 70% of the time. So we know that no, that's not the case. But yet the court, the cops, the DA, the prosecutor, all of them, they don't seem to care. It's a big money-making machine for them. And you got caught in the web, and chances are you're going down. So, go ahead. Go ahead. That's exactly what Amber said. Go ahead, Johnny. Tell them you're a victim. See who they'll believe. I'm paraphrasing, but that is pretty much what she said. You can go check out that recording if you want. So why is this a big deal? I think I'm starting to paint a picture for you. I hope you're starting to see this. 70% of domestic violence unreciprocated is initiated by women. But most men aren't going to talk about it. Either A, they're going to be called some derogatory name of some sort. They're not going to be believed. She's going to lie and say he did something, and then guess what? A lot of states have a shall arrest law in place, which means somebody's going to jail. And if they can't determine which one of you is bullshitting, and women are pretty good at it, they're probably going to throw both of you in there. So now both of you are going to be fighting charges. But either way, men in this country have not felt like they could speak up about this. You have the Me Too movement screaming in the streets. A lot of those allegations we found out were false allegations. Again, it's not like you ladies have been lying or anything because you knew you could get away with it. Because believe all women. So we don't even know how many men haven't reported the numbers. We don't know how many men haven't come forward and said, yeah, she stabbed me. Yeah, she physically abused me, whatever it is. Yeah, that happened. They're not talking about it. A lot of them are not going to talk about it. And part of it's that tough guy syndrome again, too, because they don't want the stigma. They don't want to be, without getting vulgar, they don't want to be made fun of by their friends, by the police even. Because no, that didn't happen, man. Come on. You're being a pansy. You know how it is. And men, we're not doing ourselves any favors by doing that to each other either. If you have a friend and you're doing that to him, you're not a friend. You're kind of a POS, man. But this case matters because it's the first time that somebody had FU money to be able to say, by the way, she really was the crazy one in this. Not to mention some on the stand, on the stand. Check out those videos too. That woman is spiraling out of control. And you could say, oh yeah, that's a coincidence. It just looked like that. It was just a silver flask. Probably just water. Yeah, she put that away real quick when the cop came by, didn't she? No, it was just a napkin. She was just... Who blows their... Who blows their nose like that? She paranoid somebody sees some boogers coming out of her nose. Is that it is? That's what's going on. Yeah, that's... Sure. And she didn't want the cop to see her cup of water either. All right. Anyway, this has been hopefully somewhat enlightening. It does matter. It matters because men haven't had a voice until now. And most men don't have the money for attorneys. Most men are never going to be seen on the outside of a courtroom by anybody. Definitely not making, international headlines. Most men are just dealing with it. And this case has allowed men to speak up and say, let me coin a phrase here. Men too. Ladies, you had your Me Too, and a lot of it led to finding out a lot of you made false allegations and were willing to lie for your 15 minutes of fame. There's a lot of men that don't want the fame. Matter of fact, they're ashamed to bring it up. But men too. And men, yeah, it's about time you start talking about it. It's about time you start talking to your other male friends about it. It's about time your male friends, men, listen. And don't just, let's just go get a drink, man. It'll be all right. No, come on. No. What was that saying they used? If you see something, say something. So, we've let the women go unchecked in this country for decades now. And you see what's come of that. It's a mess. Men, it's time to start talking about this. And yes, it's important. And some of you are going to say, no, it's just a distraction. They're just distracting you from this and that. The election's coming up. They're just... Or maybe some things are actually not a distraction and they're actually important to the debate in our society. And right now, I think this is a very good time to say, men, you need to speak up. And you deserve to be heard. And if somebody is being violent to you, even if she's smaller, and even if you are more muscular and more capable of defending yourself if you choose to, and some of you have, unfortunately, I mean, if somebody swings at you repeatedly, sometimes you swing back. I get it. I'm not saying you were right. I'm not saying she was right, but I get it. At some point, it's self-defense if she's beating the crap out of you. Now, granted, a woman punches you, it's not going to really hurt you much. But if a woman comes swinging at you with some kind of weapon, it's a little bit different, isn't it? You have the right to self-defense. That's all I'm going to say. But, man, it's time to speak up. This isn't just some celebrity Hollywood who cares issue. Because what's happened to him has happened to a lot of you. Especially in this community. You've come to this video, there's a good chance you've been through an Amber Heard. You've been through that kind of monster. And she walks around in front of all of her friends and family, and she is a perpetual victim. And by the way, men, have you ever noticed every one of your exes has told... If you know the story, I know every one of the people I've dated has told me about their exes, and it's always the same story. You know what it is? Well, he was an abusive, narcissistic, controlling, abusive... It's the same story every time. You know, I don't often hear women say, I'll say there was one woman in my life that said, yeah, I was a bad person in that relationship. I was a total screw up. Actually, I was a total screw up in multiple relationships. One woman owned it. One. And I've met a lot of women in my life, and most of them just play victim on everything. If we can't get this right soon, and these women keep screaming for equality and we don't give them that equality, we have a serious miscarriage of justice. Now, it's big news. It's all over the internet. You can see it every day. You can watch the live stream of that case. Wish they would have done that for another case. Epstein didn't kill himself. Yeah. No, I wish that would have been all over the news. That would have been nice. I wish we had a list of names. That would be great. But in this instance, we have the face of how men are being treated in this country. He lost his career. He lost money in the upwards of millions of dollars because she cost him all of that. This woman, there's so many things that have come out about her, and she's still getting work. We're still waiting on the results of this case just so Johnny can get work again. How's that fair? This woman took a crap in this dude's bed, and she's still getting jobs. Now, again, the good thing is a lot of women are seeing this, and they're actually on Johnny's side. It might have to do something with the fact that he's an attractive guy, and that's kind of pathetic that if he was just an average Joe, that most of these women would not care. So that's sad. But maybe it's to our benefit that he is an attractive, rich, successful, famous A-list celebrity, because at least the women, as well as the men, are getting to see what it's really like. And I'm saying the men that haven't been through it yet. Hopefully never, but statistically speaking, chances are you'll go through it at some point in your life. Anyway, so for any of your friends that are saying, why is this case important, or this case is a distraction, or this case is a waste of time, why does everybody care about this so much? Because it's important to men. Because this case represents the voice most of us have never been able to use. And none of us have had the FU money enough to do it. So on that note, if you like this content, or if you see anybody out there that is saying that on your social media, link this video. Just copy it, paste it, go to the share button, click the little two squares, it says copy URL, copy that, paste it in their comments. Show them this video. If you're watching this video now, feel free to like and comment below. I'd like to engage with you and see what you have to say about this. Also, if you haven't, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I want you guys here. I want you part of the community. I want you to be part of the dialogue. Eventually, as I get things up and going, the video quality is going to improve. The camera is going to get better. We're going to do some live stream stuff. I might even take some calls. Let some of you guys call in and talk about it with me. For now, we're kind of just getting the ball rolling, starting from nothing. So be patient with me. The content will get better. The editing will get better. The camera work will get better. But for now, that's what we got. But I would like you to subscribe. I would like you to hit the bell notification so you can see these videos when they come up and we can have these conversations. And some of them, they'll be fun conversations, sure. But some of them are going to be serious conversations like this. All right? So, again, if you like the video, click like below, subscribe, bell notification. If it feels like it's something useful, you could pass along to somebody else and say, hey, this is a topic maybe you should take seriously. You see people in your Facebook saying, oh, why is this important? Send them the link. Let them watch. See what they think. Men, we're getting a raw deal. We've been getting a raw deal for a long time. A lot of you know it. A lot of you have been through it. A lot of you have lived through it. I mean... This isn't even a discussion about family courts and divorce and child custody. But men, you know what I'm talking about. We've been getting dragged through the coals, hot coals, for a long time. So when something like this comes up, it's nice because we can finally say something. Heaven forbid a man could ever be a victim. Heaven forbid a man could ever go through this kind of shit. Anyway, like me, hate me, love me, loathe me. This is Red Pill Rhino signing out.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.